still, so hopefully we can come. Some people are still, staying tight. I think Susan has taken the oath of solitude until this plenitude of, until it passes. So pestilence, the pestilence has, has left our lands. So, so you've taken that oath. We understand that. I've taken an oath as well. I'll be here, and I'm going to be here till you throw me out. So, anyways, hopefully you don't do that. Okay, so the feet are like this. Okay, here we are. There's a V position. Here's your shoulder width. So that's where we got that V position from. Sun style Tai Chi, Wu style Tai Chi. They start off like this. They have these movements. This movement, this position's very practical in many other styles. If I turn to the corner, it's like this. If I turn to the corner, it's like this. So that's why we have this angular position. Now, in Yitimo, we have this footwork, and we're going like this. But before we even do that, let's do a few warm-ups, and we're here. Okay, good. Just a few. You can do these more on your own. You can eyes follow the hands. Okay, hands here. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, and stop. Okay, good. Hands up. Cross. Out. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, and stop. Okay, let's kind of relax the shoulders. Everything we're doing is kind of working the joints, and we want to keep it as loose as possible. It's just one of the strategies in this specific style. There isn't a lot of information or a lot of people teaching this style, so you're not going to see a lot of this anywhere else. Okay, now when we're here, we're in this position. We just did those basic exercises. Now we're going to step out into like a leaning stance, and we're going to go over, one hand on the waist, and we're going to go over, work the shoulder. Okay, let's work this. So everyone's been working really hard with the different streaming videos. So we'll beat this pandemic yet. We'll just keep practicing this, and we're going to overcome this. So now we're going to do the drilling movements, which is really pretty popular with a lot of internal systems. Hungar has this also as a dragon claw. Right? So, movements are movements. We have our center line positions, and we have our hands that move like this. Okay, next, we're going to work our legs a little bit. Pull the heels together. Shift your weight. Pull the heel up. 1, 2. So this is our yin-yang legs. And center. Now we're going to go over to this side. So we're going like this. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, and stop. Okay, shake it out. Deep breathing. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. exhale, inhale, exhale. Okay, so let's do a couple of the other drills that we've done. We're just going through the motions. Everything that we do is just going through the motions in the beginning, so we don't put too much strength in the movement. Okay, next. So that's that, and then we have this. Okay. Okay. Next. Cross hand. Okay, good. Shake it out. Deep breathing. As I mentioned before, this breathing exercise actually comes from the Morn system. That's why it's so unique to us. You probably won't see anyone doing this breathing exercise unless you're actually from our system, which is the really the heart of our system is made up of three um, styles. It's Hunggar, Wu style Tai Chi, and Wudong. So those three styles make up a style called Fuhak Tai Mon. So Fuhak Tai Mon is a culmination of those three styles, and there's a lot of other forms that we do, that are sort of supplementary, that are forms that my teacher had brought in because of his friendships with different people. So we actually have some other forms that are more advanced and more takes a lot more skill to do, but those are most of the senior people here. So Yethimon, actually, I teach the Yethikun is the core of the system. Yethimon is usually taught to our senior members. So unfortunately, there are forms, but they're kind of proprietary, so we really won't teach those forms online specifically until you're actually part of our system, and then you can actually have access to those forms. Like any system or corporation or whatever, they have their proprietary information. So those forms are somewhat proprietary, but anyone that studies here at the school has access to those forms because a lot of the students here have been here for over 20 years or even longer. Some people have been with our system for over 30 years. So it's just something that we have to maintain as the heart of our system so that we can maintain that. So that's something that just to let you know that there are forms, but we can't actually put them online. Okay, so on that note, let's go like this. So this is Yehikun. Okay, so that's how the form looks. But when you practice it, you have to go into this stance. And if you practice your stance, you do this. Okay? So that's the footwork, and then the hands basically is this and this, this and this. So fairly simple, but very difficult to do skillfully because the timing, the breath, the movement has to synchronize. So that's where it's a time factor. You know, it's the more you put in, the more you get out. But the thing is, it is a great breathing exercise, so you have access to learning that. And it's something that, you know, it's from our system, so if you practice and learn it, you'll always at least know that that came from, you know, CCMMA and came from our grandmasters. Hanson Ma is our grandmaster in Hong Kong. His father was the great-great-grandmaster, and then there's teachers beyond that. This has been transmitted to me through my teacher and my teacher's teacher that was the interim grandmaster, Gumlo. So he was Hanson Ma's father's top student back in the day. So my teacher learned from him. So it's, you know, I think if it goes through, I would think I'm 6th generation, and my students are 7th generation of the Yeti Ngangwon. So that's kind of how we work our lineage. So we're here in the Hunga. I think I'm 6th lineage. I really haven't thought about it. I don't recall. I think I'm 6th lineage, 6th generation. So this is this and this. Okay, so that's kind of quick, but when we go through it, you don't have to do it that fast. You go like this, you 1, 2 is one way, because the different teachers that have passed this down have a different starting position. I maintain both because I just can't discount or take out what I've learned from one teacher. These were all senior level teachers, so I can't say which one is, you know, the one that I want to choose to be better or worse. It all has to be good. So teachers only teach it a certain way because they feel that that's good. Now, that's where there's conflicts in teachers from different lineages, but the thing is, within our system and our teachers, we have to maintain that what they're teaching must have value. And then as you practice, then you can decide, you know, if there's any differences. So there is, you know, just an idea. So you hear thrust, 2, thrust, 2. Inhale, exhale. Inhale, exhale. So without the footwork, it's the same movement. With the footwork, it's inhale, exhale. So the idea of breathing through your nose, a lot of it is how, well, actually in Yeti-mon, we only breathe through the nose. But all the internal systems like Tai Chi, Pagua, Xingyi, they breathe through the nose as well. You know, anyone that breathes through the mouth in the internal systems is probably maybe something they've adapted to. Now in Hunga, we breathe through the nose and the mouth because you make sounds when you're breathing there. But typically, some Hunga people breathe through the nose and the mouth. We practice only breathing through the nose. You know, unless you have a nasal problem or, you know, and you can't, then that's something else. That doesn't mean you can't do it based on, you know, you're adapting because you have some dysfunction here. So, but typically you would want as a factor to know that you have this position. Then when you go forward, then when you drop your hands and you turn, this position and this position and this position, okay, is the turn. Then when we go like this, we end up like this. Then we take a step and we're like this. And we scoop down and we're here. This is a position, this is a position, this is a position, and so forth. So all the geometry of position taught comes from this system. So there's a lot of theories that come from this system that I use to teach throughout, because Morn is really, like I said, a conglomeration, a synthesis of the three styles, but they're kept intact in certain ways, but on the practice side and how we approach it is through, the guidelines that we have from Morn and from our grandmasters in that way. So we have strategies of how to improve your technique based on that. So that's why when you hear me say geometry of position, all of the things we talk about, circles, squares, triangles, all of these things comes from my great grandmaster's ideas of how you can actually develop. So he always used to talk about these type of things. So that's how I've learned, and I begin to understand over decades and decades of learning that strategy is very solid. It's really a good approach. So, but with that said, the human body has these abilities, and it has to reference in certain ways. So if you bring in sort of, that's what the Taiji Paradigm is, a modern approach to an antiquated way. You bring in what has been researched and developed over the years, and understand how the elders in the past were thinking, but yet it really wasn't put into black and white or in text or in some form that's written. It's all kind of vague, and it's really not completely understood, because maybe they camouflage a lot of things in their text and in their poetry so that you wouldn't get that information directly. You'd have to actually think about it and interpret it. So that's how a lot of people kind of kept their secrets, or their secrecy, through that kind of vagueness. But today, there's a lot of science, there's a lot of understanding that they thought they had developed, through their own practice, but a lot of it's, information today. That we have to breathe, oxygen is important, circulation is important. A lot of all these concepts that we taught about back in the day are actually, known today. So we know we need to move to have circulation. These are all the concepts that I bring out, so that people that are learning something like martial arts, Tai Chi, or anything, if you want to know the health benefit, or you want to understand how it helps your immune system, you have to understand that movement is essential to life, circulation is important, but motor skill is something that's very unique in how sophisticated it become. So in martial arts, like in Morn or in any other forms we do, the sophistication of the level and coordination and increase of the body is just amazing. People who you can't even fathom that the body does a certain type of movements. So that's why a lot of the students here are so intrigued with what's being taught over the period of time, because you do evolve. And that evolution is because of your motor skill and what's happening here and what's happening here. And ultimately what happens here gives you what I talk about is prevention of age-related degeneration, better balance, better motor skill, a better quality of life as you age. A lot of you haven't reached that level of aging where you can feel or see the difference. But when you get to that age, then you really appreciate what you've gained from doing this. That's what I've learned over the years of development, that, I've prevented, I think, a lot of the things that my peers have, not gained because they didn't do it. My peers, not martial arts peers, I mean peers that are peers from when I grew up, or peers in business or whatever. They didn't they lost a lot of abilities. They aged really tremendously compared to what someone that does this does. So, when the fact that when you get older you can't touch your toes, touching your toes and doing that isn't a problem for most of us that do this. So you can see that there's a tremendous value when you develop your breath and your movement, your breathing apparatus, the coordination, your position, the muscle memory that you do, that you develop. When your hand goes out there, it's always there. That's what accuracy of movement is. When the hand goes out, it's there. It's just how it is. So if you followed some of the other classes I do, you can see there's a very consistent way I do it, and you see that, and you capture that as an image. That's something that is really pretty amazing, that we develop this muscle memory. I remember the first time I had a professional photographer take pictures for me when I taught at the Harvard Pilgrim Health Center. He came in for their magazine or their book. They sent a professional photographer. So we went throughout this whole room, and he was taking snapshots in positions because of the lighting. And he was using some kind of camera that you could pull out and develop it right away. It wasn't a Polaroid. It was one of these fancy cameras that still had a Polaroid adapter on it. So he would take all these pictures and pull them all out, and wherever we took it, when they developed, he said, "How did you do that?" He said, "That's amazing, because usually when I take pictures of people, they have to be touched to do this, to set them up." And he said, how did that happen?" So that's a photographer. Because he doesn't do this, he didn't realize how it was done. But how it's done is because we do muscle memory, and we develop these positions simply because it's part of our training. So when we develop positions, when we're here, 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 these are all structures, and these are all programmed to memorize from a file that's stored up here, and that file gives you this relationship in the body. When we're here, when we're here, when we're here, all of the things that we've been doing, those all become part of your learning. So while we do all these drills, and sometimes say, well, teaching those drills, there is benefit to doing them, but it's more beneficial when it's part of your style. Because like the Taiji Paradigm, if I'm teaching carry tiger to the mountain, although it's a great movement to do, how does that work with the movements that you're developing? So it really supports your form the way it's done the most. So we practice like that, and we get the maximum benefit from it because it has that. So you can gain some benefit from it, but it doesn't have that same correlation, mainly because whatever you store up here and whatever you learn, if those are all isolated as files all the time, and you can't connect it because it's so different, then that's going to affect your progress. So if you're practicing the style, or you're learning like our Honga or that, you should really understand that the training becomes habits. And those habits have to be dialed into your body. And if you want the consistency, the accuracy of what you do, you have to bear in mind that it becomes a stylistic difference. So then that's where you have to decide, well, should I do it like this, or should I do it? Once you've reached a certain level, your body will say, this is the way you should do it. So that's why when we do this over and over again, you start to feel that. When we do this movement, it is good training for us, but at the same time, you have palm strikes face, you have your kicks. So all of these movements that you have in any of your forms become all, kind of blended together up here until you can sort it all out. So really, it's a method to the madness. Okay, so all the things that we're doing, like last week I think I showed you this, and it actually is in a stance. And then this one goes to that stance, and then this is here. So that's part of the body form. You're in this position, we're like this. So that's a body form. And how these body forms form for us is that while we're developing these movements, then we have positions and structures that we build our sequences, and those become execution. So that happens with a posture. So any posture you're learning, regardless of what style, Tai Chi, Kung Fu, you have postures. Perfect the posture, finalize your position so you have the true muscle memory, and then build off of that to build your transitions, and that becomes the true timing. So while we're doing this, there's no real integration yet. When you start to integrate, your body actually becomes part of the movement and it adapts. So that's really what part of our training in any of this is. It adapts. We're looking for center line, we shift, we're looking for center line, you're looking for balance. Where is those positions? Your body starts to recognize. Proprioception, knowing your body and space is enhanced tremendously. It becomes everything as part of what we're learning. If I know my space here, I know my space here. All of these are space and positions. So when we speak of positions, we're speaking of this. When I'm here, when I'm here. All of these are positions. When I'm here, when I'm here. This is here, this is here. So all of these, as simple as they look, that's what it is. When I'm in a position, they all kind of look like movements that we have in the other forms, but it's just that strategy. So if you have any questions, you can just, so remember this, we start here or here, then we go to the center line. The first movement is this, second movement is this, then you take your step. Remember, inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale. You can go as much as you want forward, then you turn, and then we're headed the other way. You're in this empty stance, and then you're in the twist stance. Now we're here, we take one step, and we do one cycle, then we start the step. Again, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now I'm here. 1, 2. I could take a couple of more steps to get back to where I started from, and then I can close. Then I take my hand, I bring it to here, and I press down and close. So, although this is kind of linear and abrupt, it comes from the Xingyi snake style as a as a system that led into Morn. And then it's also tied to the wu-tang style or the quack style Tai Chi. So that's the small frame Tai Chi. So this is a sister system to Tai Chi. So a lot of the things that we do, the movements that we have are really part of those lineages too. And then there's some other movements where we do a lot of spiraling movements. That's part of Bagua. And then there's some Chen style that's actually built in from, the great grandmaster's teacher's father. And he actually was killed during the Japanese invasion back in the 40s. But he was a well-known teacher. He did several styles. Some of that history is on our website, but the thing is, I don't know if it has been translated yet, but it was in the Chinese. So I don't know if we had a translation. I don't know if it was actually put on our website. But I have that translation. So it's kind of interesting. The system is very, very small. We teach it here, and they teach it in Hong Kong. Our grandmaster actually, he travels a little bit into China, and he has a few students in Europe, but it's not really, practiced, like a commercial school, or, in many ways, it's really very pocketed. Only a few people learn it. Okay, on that note, listen, what time is it? Okay, so on that note, I'm glad you appreciate you've been exposed to it. We're going to continue to stream on Wednesdays and Thursdays. So we're going to continue doing this class and the 24 movement form and broadsword. But those classes might evolve, because once we open up the doors, then we might do some other type of streaming content, or we may even do more of forms. You can learn specific forms with the Hongar form, so we'll bring things down to basics, and you can start learning, because a lot of these streaming videos is content for our students that have not come back, or they're out there. So we'll have to see what happens, because everything's sort of uncertain right now how it's going to be in the future. So anyways, glad you've been following. Hopefully you give us a thumbs up and continue to stream, subscribe. if you're interested, even whatever we're teaching, in the upper right-hand corner, there's a platform for Kung Fu and for Tai Chi, for Zoom type of group lessons. So that's something that you can, if you let us know through an email that you're through that platform, then we can see down the way if we can start to do that. So as I said, 3 platforms going forward as a new model. All right, on that note, I'll see you next time.